Welcome. We would like to call to order the May 12, 2025 regular meeting of the Willoughby Eastlake City Schools Board of Education. This meeting is being held in accordance with Section 3313.15 of the Ohio Revised Code. Mr. Tarnello, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bear?
Here.
Ms. Miller?
Here.
Ms. Verdi?
Here.
Ms. Schatzman?
Here.
Ms. Menser?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We would like to welcome everyone to our meeting this evening. To ensure everyone is aware of the way these meetings operate, we'd like to share the following. Prior to this evening, each board member has received for their review and consideration the agenda and materials associated with each agenda item for the board's approval. Board members can discuss the items with the superintendent and treasurer. Board members are not permitted, per Ohio Meetings Act and Sunshine Laws, to conduct conversations regarding board business outside of a public meeting. Tonight will be the first time the board can conduct conversations as a whole regarding the items on tonight's agenda. Board meeting agendas are always available through the district's website for public viewing prior to the board meeting. Community members can always email the board with questions or come and participate in the public comment portion of our meeting. Public comment provides an opportunity for the community to address the school board directly. In order to participate in public comments, participants would sign up before the meeting. When signing up, you are provided a copy of our public participation policy. Participants are asked to abide by those requirements. We will now move on to our agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve 2A, approval of agenda?
Madam President, I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Discussion? Mr. Tarnello?
Ms. Bear?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Verdi?
Yes.
Ms. Schatzman?
Yes.
Ms. Menser?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Dr. Ward?
Good evening, everybody. Happy May. It's hard to believe we're at the end of the school year. 13 days left. We're on third and heading home. And so tonight, we wanted to spend a few minutes sharing with you our results from our first community survey that we completed. Like I said, oh, that's much better. I'm not sure for everyone else. I won't start again. That'll diminish the short walk from here to here. We completed our first community survey. 402 respondents. It was a scientific survey to establish a baseline for conversation moving forward, right? And what we know about surveys are that they give us a snapshot. They allow us to kind of ascertain the mood, and they allow us to ask questions like, are we on the right track? Do we need to pivot? Are there areas we need to pay more attention to? And then we continue to collect data over time so we can see if we're moving in one direction or the other. And so we'll take this tonight as a snapshot of what the community, the mood right now, hoping, in fact, that we can build upon momentum moving forward. And so I'm going to go relatively quickly, but at any point, should you have questions, jump in. So these wonderful young gentlemen there were two of our attendees to our senior prom on Friday night. We hosted a senior prom at North High School. We had 88 senior citizens come to the prom. It was a spectacular evening for our community. Good conversation, dancing, and a completely student-run evening. And so showcasing our community survey, we wanted to get that out there tonight. Generally speaking, the first question that we asked in the survey, and again, really good response rate overall, and demographically, that you'll see in this particular survey, 66% of the respondents do not have kids in school. So about a third of the respondents had kids in the school. The second thing you'll know is that every community was sampled, all 7. So we were very cognizant when the design was set up to make sure that that was covered along all demographic groups as well. But overall, they asked about the quality of life in Lake County. So living in the county are relatively satisfied. They asked the question about, are you satisfied with the Willoughby Eastlake School District that serves your community? And again, for our first time out of the gate, about 52% satisfaction and about 25% unsure. we discussed this as a cabinet, and we talked about the idea that this really reaffirms for us that continuing our outreach and building a bridge to our community, continuing to be accountable and transparent and tell our story remains one of our top priorities as we move to the future, which has been a high commitment of this board for the last 2 years. When you look at, generally speaking, the quality of education that the district provides, 54.1% positive rating, 21% fair, and about a 10.2 negative rating. So again, captured in there is some uncertainty in a population that reaffirms for us the importance of continuing to build bridges as we move forward. Again, first time that we've asked this question publicly in a while. When you ask about college preparation, you'll see about 43.6% positive rating, 21% fair, and then again, about the same 12.2-ish negative rating. But again, you'll see that unsure category, which continues to be a population that we continue to have to build bridges to, reach out, and remain accountable and transparent. When you ask about post-secondary, and you talk about, in particular, preparing for careers in the workforce, you'll see about 38.5% positive rating, 22% fair, a little uptick in the negative rating there, which is opportune given the most recent direction around workforce development, career tech in the district. And so as you look to the next couple of years and you continue to ask this question, it'll be interesting to see if in fact we're reaching the broader community with some of the programming that we're going to develop.
Can you remind me if we did this survey before we announced our plan changes to career technical education?
We did, so this was February, and so we would announce that towards the end of February.
Okay, thanks.
Good observation. When you talk about, as you may or may not know, the district kind of talks a lot about academics. We talk about the value of arts, and we talk about the value of athletics. And so, does this capture the essence of what we've been talking about? And so there you're closer to 60%, right? Because we do talk a lot about this through our priorities, right, and our strategic vision. It's represented in priority 1 and 2. And so intriguing there. And that young lad in the middle there, I happen to know him really well. He's my son. So it's good to know. We didn't force him to volunteer. He actually showed up and gave of his time. So we were a little proud that day. But this is some of his classmates as well. This was kind of just jumped right off the page. We asked about cell phone policies, banning cell phones, restricting use, talking about being, more thoughtful during the school day. Ding, 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 80% said yes. And so that was one of the strongest things you'll see, I think, in this survey. If you squint here, it says turning to finances. How would you rate the job Willoughby City Schools does spending its money and managing its finances? So about 32.4% talked about overall positive rating. Again, that 22% fair. Down at the bottom, about 25% unsure and no answer. Same general idea. We have committed and continue to commit to telling our story about how our school is financed, how we're funded, and again, doing the best we can to stretch every dollar. And that is definitely, again, a continued core focus for the next couple of years. When you talk about looking at the district school facilities, generally speaking, how would you rate the conditions of Willoughby's schools? Again, one of the stronger favorability ratings there is about 67%. And remember, about 66% of the respondents don't have kids in school. And so you're driving by the buildings, you're hearing about the facilities most likely, or you're going perhaps to the YMCA or the senior center on the south end. And so, but when you dig deeper and you ask the question, again, if you squint there, so do you agree or disagree that even though the buildings appear serviceable, inside some of our facilities may need some love, attention, and continued investment? And so there you see a little pullback in the numbers, about 45% agree, 21% disagree. And again, there's a big group of people that I think we have to continue to tell a story, generally speaking, through our shared vision about how we are committed to doing both two things simultaneously. Investing in rigorous academics for every student that comes to Willoughby Lake Schools, but also assuring we invest in our facilities and have a plan to do so. When you jump out and ask, should the district have a plan to upgrade or renovate facilities, about 63% agree. And again, you'll see the unsure kind of pulled down a little bit there. Interestingly enough, we just approved the 20-year capital plan, which kind of gives us a really good insight for the first time into the long road ahead and what it would take to maintain our existing footprint of facilities if nothing changed. When you look at, do you agree or disagree that the school district should put air conditioning in schools? Now, this should shock you. I bet for this, 66 of the respondents, they probably all came from some of our older facilities, but a pretty strong agreement overall in creating a enjoyable and perhaps comfortable learning environment. Looking at the communications, generally speaking, do you agree or disagree that the Willoughby's Lake City Schools listens to the public and is responsive to the needs? A little more variation across these measures here. So we had about 42% agree, as you can see, about 23% disagreeing. And again, pretty large, sizable group that we got to continue to reach. We always say, like, inside the school, we have a captive audience. Outside the walls, we have to do a better job figuring out ways we get out there. And again, it's 66,000 constituents live in Willoughby's Lake schools. 7,000 students come to our schools. That's about 15,000 parents. So, like, this doesn't surprise me that we got to continue to find avenues to make those connections, and we have to do so intentionally. How would you say the amount of news or information is? So, whether you're getting it or not, 44% said just about right, enough. If you say the word future readiness or shared vision one more time, 35.3% said too little, and again, there's that captive group that's a little unsure there. Generally speaking, was the information you saw on social media favorable or unfavorable? And so overwhelming there, in the positive direction, favorable coverage, generally speaking, across social media. I would concur. And then, do you have children currently enrolled in Willoughby's Lake schools? This goes to what we spoke about earlier. And so again, the majority of student respondents in this particular survey did not. So, and again, we'll end with, where we're going is future readiness, which we're going to continue to have conversation around. For me, again, we don't react just to one survey, but we have to ask, what's the mood, what's the direction, and are we heading in down that path? And I think the answer is we've got a good shared vision, we've got a solid commitment to accountability and transparency, and we've got a vision for the future that sets the district up. So I'm looking forward to the next time we do this, kind of starting to connect those dots over time to continue to see how things are moving. So I'll pause there before I go forward, because then I'm going to do the next one too. Boom, boom.
Do you want us to ask questions?
It's up to you. I mean, I'm not going to answer most likely because I'm not that smart, but I'll do my best.
I think the only thing from our work session when we discussed this was what is the frequency moving forward by which we'll continue to survey. And I think as a group, we said we want to be more frequent in the near term to really establish a baseline to identify areas to then target for maybe long-term, maybe more spread out surveys. And also maybe changing the demographic from being this broad, Willoughby East Lake survey to maybe a more tailored or specific parent survey. So looking at diversity of surveys to set a great baseline for future conversations, right?
Yeah, the more information, the better. We're at that point.
So, awesome.
Ready for steering committee number 1 update? All right, so we had our final steering committee. So this year, if you recall, we had a set of 4 steering committees. Those committees each met twice. We heard those reports here, then we posted the notes from those meetings online. We had our final meeting for priority 1 last week, and have a chance to kind of debrief on that tonight. Before we do that, we're going to show you a quick video to frame the whole thing up, because it all gets rooted in the promises that we've been talking about, and we shared this at our stakeholder night, and it really is the gist behind our shared vision. I gotta click it. See, that was good. You gave me a little signal there. I'm good. And that's.
At Willoughby East Lake City Schools, we are committed to creating an exceptional educational experience, one that meets the unique needs of every student across our 7 communities. We've developed a shared vision that outlines 4 promises to our families, 4 guiding commitments that shape every moment in our schools. Promise 1, joy. We create engaging experiences. Every day is a new opportunity to spark curiosity and build excitement for tomorrow. We design thoughtful, joyful learning moments that students carry with them, because learning should be something they're excited to share. Promise 2, connections. We prioritize relationships. We know that every child deserves to feel seen, heard, and valued. Together, our schools, families, and community partners build a place where belonging leads to achievement. Promise 3, growth. We inspire extraordinary growth. With meaningful goals, flexible opportunities, and support through every step of their educational journey, students learn to persevere and push past their limits. Because growth isn't just about academics, it's about confidence, voice, and agency. Promise 4, success. success. We invest in the future. Real success happens when students leave our schools ready to take on the world. With authentic learning experiences and multiple paths to achievement, we prepare them to thrive in college, career, military, and life. The Willoughby Eastlake vision is more than promises. It serves as our purpose. Because at Willoughby Eastlake, our promises don't end at graduation. They prepare our students for a lifetime of possibilities.
So one of the nice things about the steering committees this year is it reaffirmed for me, as someone, a member of the community and someone who is fortunate to lead in this capacity, just how laser focused we were on students and their well-being this year. Like, we stayed focused on kids, and we asked the steering committee members to share some of the things they've observed this year, and they shared some of these items. We implemented PLCs K-12 this year, a huge step for the district. We're committed to continuous improvement. We're committed to seeing every child and ensuring they're making academic achievement and growth. We implemented STEAM, and so art and STEM across all of our elementary schools this year, because we said if it was good enough for Soy, it was good enough for all students in Willoughby Eastlake. We talked about the teaming model at the middle level, which completely reconfigured the way we see kids in 6th, 7th, and 8th, one of the most difficult age levels in the lifespan of a learner. And we're just getting started with how that model evolves. They talked about the flex learning models at the high school, which we implemented, and this year we expanded. Flex learning gives students agency and voice and doubles down on the soft skills that employers tell us over and over again are the things that students need to be successful in life. And so we watch students this year grow and have their voice expand. We identified a platform for next year. We're going to begin pivoting to a conversation around aligning for impact and making our impact visible. And we're committed to starting to show quantitatively the progress we're making in all of these areas. We reviewed the state of our course offerings at both high schools, and we did an audit to determine how do we assure that all students for all 4 years in high school are reaching the most academically intense and rigorous courses that we can provide and offer. And we're going to begin cleaning up that course sequence and pathways for high school kids next year so that we can make a run at that. We created work-based experiences for students in the second semester, engaged them in an opportunity to earn and learn during the school day, engage them in meaningful experiences. We developed most recently, which we're excited to launch next year, instructional leadership teams across every building. So we have a district leadership team, right, of employees, union members, teachers, and administration that meets 4 times a year. We have our PLCs that meet weekly at the classroom level, but we needed an in-between conversation in each building, and those would be the instructional leadership team, which will roll out next year with a retreat in August here before school starts, right in this very room. We created middle school career connections course that will roll out next year that will engage kids in career exploration sooner, with the hope that when kids get to be my son's age at 16 and you ask them, what are you interested in? The answer is not, I don't know, because the runway starts to get short when you're later in high school. We created high school career capstone courses next year where our students will then in 9th and 10th grade begin to take a deeper dive into a career-focused area of interest to them and use the design process to really begin to explore something that could possibly light a fire within them. All in time for the junior and senior rollout of our career comprehensive and career courses, the following year. We invested in cybersecurity pathway next year, cutting edge opportunity for our students. We learned at the kickoff last week where we had members of the community come and learn about our cybersecurity pathways. We learned that there's over 200 different unique careers in the area of cybersecurity. Like, no matter what career you go into, there's a cybersecurity component to it, and our students will have access at both high schools next year to that programming. We fully implemented CKLA in K-5, and we're seeing remarkable results as they're finalizing the 3rd screener, which we're looking forward to sharing in the next couple of months. We piloted CKLA at the 6th grade level. We're going to adopt it tonight and continue to move that curriculum, that rigorous curriculum, into the middle level. We implemented a math curriculum 6-8 this year, and we're looking forward to doubling down year 2 next year. We created a math steering committee for next year because we know math is an area of focus and a priority for us, and we are going to take a run at it. We launched the AI task force, which did some wonderful work around leading the way on the AI conversation, and finally we launched our MTSS steering committee. So all of those things we talked about in August, we were able to update the committee on in our most recent meeting.
What's the MTSS steering committee for everyone?
Yeah, so MTSS is our multiple tiered system of supports. It's this notion that most kids, the intervention they need to be successful happens in the classroom from the classroom teacher. It's building a robust system where 80% of the students get what they need when they need it from the trained, qualified educators. But you have to be intentional about that. You got to build a system around it. It kind of connects to the PLC, allows to make learning more visible, and takes the emotion out of it.
Thank you.
With no further ado, that is steering committee 1. Would have been better if it was 2, would have rhymed, but that's how it is. And I'm going to invite Nikki Meyer, I think, for the next item on the agenda. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Nikki Myers. I'm one of the special education supervisors. The state support team for annually honors exceptional educators and students in Lake and Geauga counties through the Walter Horn Awards. The Franklin B. Walter Outstanding Educator Award is named after Ohio's former superintendent of public instruction, whose legacy includes over 50 years of service and the creation of the nation's first statewide plan for children with disabilities. This award recognizes special educators who demonstrate outstanding performance and dedication to students with special needs. This year's recipient is Kayla Constantino, an intervention specialist at Edison Elementary in the Autism Resource Room. Kayla is known for designing engaging, inclusive learning experiences tailored to her students' unique needs. Her hands-on projects, like having her students create and sell dog treats, have not only taught practical skills, but also fostered confidence and community involvement. Her efforts make learning meaningful and empowering for all students. Kayla's advocacy extends beyond the classroom, notably through her work to include the Special Olympics at Edison, ensuring all students have opportunities to participate and shine. A passionate professional, she is committed to continual growth and collaboration, making her a respected leader in the field of special education and a deserving recipient of this prestigious honor. Congratulations, Kayla.
Good evening. Madam President, members of the board, Mr. Tornello, Dr. Ward, it's an honor to recognize 2 outstanding educators this evening who have earned tenure in the Willoughby Eastlake School District. To achieve this milestone, teachers must hold an active teaching license for at least 7 years, have taught in our district for at least 3, completed 30 graduate hours beyond a bachelor's degree and earned a master's from an accredited institution, and be recommended by their principal. Tonight, I am proud to introduce 2 who have met and exceeded those standards. Rihanna McChesney, English teacher and yearbook advisor at South High School, and Angela Mazzolini, math teacher at South High School. Come on up. I get to say some more fun things about you. So I've had the privilege of being Mrs. McChesney's principal a few years back, and I believe Dr. Ward had the good sense to hire her a few years before that. So good job on that there, Dr. Ward. Rihanna is also a dedicated patient teacher who continues to inspire her students daily. I'm pleased to say that I had the good sense to hire Mrs. Mazzolini after an interview that made very clear that she was a great fit for South. She's thoughtful, compassionate, and an excellent colleague. Tenure is not a milestone simply, but it's a mark of trust. It's not given, it's earned. And tonight we celebrate their hard work, heart, and the lasting impact they continue to make. Congratulations to both of you.
Congratulations. And now would be the brief pause where you can stay, though. You're more than welcome.
The next item on the agenda is public comment. Mr. Charnello, do we have anyone this evening?
Dan Mullen.
Yep. Just make sure the green light is on.
And please state your address before you begin speaking.
I don't want to shout, so I'm going to move this. Yes, the green light's on. My name is Daniel Mullen. I live at 34800 Vine Street in Eastlake. I'm speaking as a concerned resident with ties to the district. I grew up in Willowick and graduated from North High in 1990. Since 2018, 6 of my younger cousins have graduated from North as well. After living in Cuyahoga County for many years, I moved to Eastlake 4 years ago. I've worked with schools and families to improve the lives of troubled teenagers for over 17 years. I believe that House Bill 8 has the potential to create a threatening environment for gay and transgender students, as well as their teachers and counselors. All students have the right to be safe while they learn and explore their identity. School personnel need to build trust and maintain trust with students in order for academic and social learning to happen. When I realized that I was gay at age 14, coming out was not an option. But even back in 1988, 2 teachers at North were quietly supportive. They provided me with the first feelings of self-respect amid a homophobic culture at home and at school. HB 8 could sanction teachers like mine from teaching anything positive about sexual orientation, gender identity, or human sexuality in general. It could force them to choose between a black and white law and their own ethics by outing gay and trans students without their consent. HB 8 has many reporting guidelines. It can be used to empower school personnel to create a safer environment for all students, instead of creating new problems. Please do not use this law to return Willoughby Eastlake to a time of isolation for LGBT students, whose support in Ohio is again at risk, while they also continue to experience higher rates of suicide and depression. Do not create policy that automatically outs gay and trans students to their parents, which could put them in danger. Some people believe that gay and trans students shouldn't be what they are, but we all know better than that. Lastly, remember that HB 8 simply mandates that a policy is created and implemented. Unlike House Bill 68, with HB 8 there are no penalties for abiding by the reporting guidelines. This allows you to create a policy of inclusion that maintains trust among students and school personnel. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Charnello, do we have anybody else? The next items are under board members' business, work session insights. Mrs. Schatzman, would you like to share?
Yes, so we had a work session last week. Was it last week? I think so. Losing track of time now as spring is fast approaching. And Mr. Charnello will talk a lot more about this later. But essentially, we are taking our long-term financial planning very seriously. For the first time in a long time, we have developed a facilities plan and committed to doing that. And then therefore, we had to make a decision, right? How are we going to fund this? We can use our existing funds that we have managed and saved for this purpose, or we could say something like, I think has been mentioned before in our committees, or we could go to the ballot and put on a levy for PI funds. And I think we all are feeling the feedback from our community, and we said we can't go to the ballot and ask our community for more money. And at the same time, we can't make irresponsible financial decisions. So that basically was a decision for us to come together, look at our 5-year forecast, talk about how and when we could actually commit to and fund this plan responsibly instead of approving something and then not making sure it becomes a reality because we don't have the dollars allocated, and then how that fit with current legislation that we're looking at and seeing, and how that related to our policies, specifically our cash balance policy. So I'll let you kind of go into it more later, but this was a very in-depth discussion. We knew we would need more time than we'd have here tonight when Mr. Chernell is presenting to really think about this and give it the time and attention it needed. So we had the work session, and then you will hear the result of that later tonight. I don't know if I missed anything that anyone wants to add. Okay, so similarly, I guess I'll go into the legislative update, if that's okay, Mrs. Spencer.
Absolutely.
So I'm just going to stick to mainly the budget bill, not only because that is our primary focus right now, but also because there's a potential for any legislation that is being heard or out there to be folded into the budget and then go into effect potentially 90 days later. So I think our approach is the same, to look at this high level about local control. What we're going to talk about later and what I just alluded to in the work session is exactly that. We took our money, we managed it, we built up somewhat of a cash balance, not an excessive amount, where we said we can finally make smart, strategic financial decisions. And taking away our ability to do that and then saying that's a form of property tax relief is in fact kind of the opposite, because it would force us to go back to the ballot more often, to constantly be asking our community for money instead of making long-range planning decisions. So that's really what we're focused on. I think Dr. Ward is going to talk more about our shareholder event a little bit later, so I won't try to steal his thunder. But right now, the Senate Education Committee is hearing testimony. Then it will go to the Senate Finance Committee, where our local senator, Mr. Jerry Serino, is the Senate Finance Chair. That is a hugely influential position. So Dr. Ward will reiterate that right now is the time for him to hear from everyone out there. It can be us, but I will tell you from listening to the testimony, and I've listened to hours of it, they are sick of hearing from school board members, superintendents, and school treasurers. They want to hear from taxpayers, community members, parents, people out there to say, what is your experience and what do you think and what will help you and what will you vote for, again, because they are your elected officials. So without the magnitude of numbers, I don't think we're going to get anywhere alone. So that's why we try to come to our community, explain, and what we really, the call to action we're doing, and we'll continue to promote this on social media and in our community outreach, is to say, please write to, you can write to Representative Troy as well. You know, it's already gone through the House, so the Senate is more influential right at this moment. That may change if it goes to conference committee, which it likely will. But write to Senator Serino and tell him what you like about our schools. You can tell him what you don't like about our schools, but say, have a conversation with Willoughby East Lake Schools about what we're doing, how we're planning, how these changes will impact us. And a lot of the time, several of these things together make devastating consequences that just one individual item wouldn't. And so talking to a school like us, where we are focused on getting better and planning responsibly and being transparent and asking our community for things. And if our community doesn't support it, we should know before we would ever go ask them for money, because we're surveying them and we're talking to them and we're doing coffee talks and all of these things. And I don't think that because these are busy politicians, that they really understand the unique story of every single school district. And instead of saying, hey, listen to us and we're just gonna tell you why we need more money and we're not gonna, you know, kind of tell you this story of how we've transformed the educational experience, we're saying we're doing something different. It's worth listening to us and talking about how these specific policies will impact Willoughby East Lake. So I encourage everyone who listens to this, everyone who can share it, to please just write to him. Don't complain. Just ask him to sit down at the table with Dr. Ward and Mr. Chernello and understand before any decisions are made how they will at least impact our district. And I think I'm going to voluntold you, Mr. Chernello, and I think I told you this. You've said you will model out impacts on any school district because, you know, financial impacts are public record and everyone has to submit a 5-year forecast. So you're willing to go above and beyond doing extra work to show what impact it'll have in all of Lake County or all of his constituents or all of Ohio for that matter. So we're happy to do the work. We want to have the conversation. We got covered in the News Herald for that. We had a community meeting. We're just asking everyone and anyone who's willing to listen to say, just talk to our administrators about how these policy changes will impact us. So that was a long time. I'll get off my soapbox and thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Schatzman. Does anyone have any questions?
have you had an opportunity to have a time that you can get together with him by any chance?
Why, yes, last Friday, we had the delight of all the superintendents and treasurers in, Lake County and Cuyahoga County, where Senator Serino is our representative. We got together and we got to share our story with him on Friday. And it was very receptive. It was a good conversation. We're going to continue to extend that, outreach, because the more we tell our story, the better he'll understand how current legislation could impact 66,000 people that live in the western end of Lake County.
One thing that I would like to comment on as far as that I think it's a good thing that we are being proactive, getting all the information that we can to them, just to give that detailed story. Better than reactive, getting ahead of the curve. So I just want to commend you for that.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mrs. Schatzman. We will now move on to item 6A. Do I hear a motion to approve the 2026 to 2031 superintendent's contract?
I want to do it. I make a motion to approve 6A, approval of 26 to 31 superintendent's contract.
Do I hear a second?
I will second that.
Discussion? I would like to start the discussion, if that's okay.
Please.
I just want to say a few things. First, per Ohio Revised Code, the board is in the time frame for contract discussions for Dr. Ward. And the board took many months to discuss and negotiate a new contract for him. The superintendent plays a critical role in guiding our district's vision, operations, and educational outcomes. It's our responsibility as a board to ensure stable, effective leadership in our schools. And the proposed contract you see here tonight reflects both the board's evaluation of Dr. Ward's performance and our commitment to maintaining continuity in our leadership. It also affords us the opportunity to build upon the progress made under Dr. Ward's leadership and set clear goals for the future. This board, I think I can speak on behalf of everyone up here, believe that Dr. Ward has done an exceptional job, and we feel that this contract is not only good for him, but also our taxpayers. And with all that being said, we're very excited about the future of Willoughby Eastlake Schools under Dr. Ward's leadership. I will open the floor for any other comments.
So I have one just small thing. I've been reflecting lately and like walking through things. And one of the things before I became a school board member that I hoped for the district was a leader that would walk into rooms asking good questions and not always having answers. And in the last 2 years, I feel you have done nothing but ask questions and listen, and then to take action based upon the information of not only constituents, parents, students, and also staff, which affirmed all of the conversations we had throughout the last couple of months for myself. So thank you for your continued commitment and for being the superintendent that I personally felt as a taxpayer our district needed.
Yeah, I would like to echo that I couldn't be more excited because my daughter will be here until 2033, and so I think this is a little not long enough, but we're limited by Ohio Revised Code on a 5-year contract. But I think under your leadership, obviously, we heard just a snippet of what we've accomplished as a district tonight. I wouldn't be, basically begging everyone in the community to say, come look at what we're doing if I weren't exceedingly proud of what we're doing. And again, I think this is one of the best decisions we're making as a board. So that's why I was so excited to make the motion.
I would just like to say, I think it's so heartwarming to have a superintendent who, yes, this is his office, but you're out. You're in our schools. You're eating lunch with our students. You're making connections. And I just think that is so important. And I think that, if you ask an elementary school student, well, who's our superintendent? I think that they'd probably say, oh, Dr. Ward, he was here last week. He had lunch with us. Or what, I commend you because I know how busy you are and you find time. So thank you.
I just want to say, first of all, I think it's really freakish that Monday is your happiest day of the week. I will never get over that. I think that's bizarre, but anyways, it just goes to show that your positivity. And one of the, probably a thing that's stands out to me right now, and I could list a whole bunch of things, but your vision for Willoughby Eastlake just really rings true. It's, I know you have kids here, your own kids here, but you really take on everyone as your kids. And that's what we feel. And I really look forward to seeing your vision taking place over time. I know we need to be patient, and progress, happens in elements, different time frames and whatever. But I do know this. When I talk to teachers and I hear from students, they're excited. The teachers are excited. There's a breath of fresh air that has been brought into the schools, and it's contagious. So, and thank you for the goal of transparency, because that's going to mean so much to our stakeholders as far as continuing that and keeping that promise.
Have we embarrassed you enough?
Should we keep going? Mr. Charnello, can you please call the roll?
Ms. Bear?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Verdi?
Yes.
Ms. Schatzman?
Yes.
Ms. Menser?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
We'll move on to 7A, approval of minutes for April 2nd, 2025. Do I hear a motion to approve 7A?
Madam President, I motion to approve item 7A.
Do I hear a second?
I will second that.
Discussion? Mr. Charnello?
Ms. Bear?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Verdi?
Yes.
Ms. Schatzman?
Yes.
Ms. Menser?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Do I hear a motion to approve 7B, approval of minutes of April 14th, 2025?
Madam President, I motion to approve item 7B.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion? Mr. Charnello?
Ms. Bear?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Verdi?
Yes.
Ms. Schatzman?
Yes.
Ms. Menser?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Do I hear a motion to approve 7C, approval of minutes of April 28th, 2025?
I will make a motion to approve 7C.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? Mr. Charnello?
Ms. Bear?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Verdi?
Yes.
Ms. Schatzman?
Yes.
Ms. Menser?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Charnello, you are up with the treasurer's report.
All right, thank you. I was fixing a typo. All right. Sorry about that. I don't know. I'll go quickly through the monthly financials because we're getting a little deeper during the 5-year forecast. Through April, we collected, well, before I talk about the month, I want to say thank you to you guys for your support and to the Treasurer's Office for receiving the Auditor State Award again this for the last year's audit. So I know that it's a small token of their recognition for the hard work that they do, and I couldn't do it without them. So, and I couldn't do it. We couldn't do it without all of you. So, just want to say thank you, and very proud of the district and of the office. Through April, we have collected 92.45% of our expected revenue. We are on track with our projections, and we actually did just receive the homestead rollback payment today. So that will be in next month's financials. Excluding the transfer, which we'll talk about regarding the capital plan, the expenditures are still below the expected by about 3%. And overall, our financials are still in a strong position with revenue aligning with estimates and our expenditures remaining controlled. And the uncertainty around our financials will be discussed more during the 5-year forecast. A lot of it has to do with legislation. And our interest rates are holding steady now as we continue to make a concerted effort to maximize our interest revenue. 8B is the 5-year forecast. I'll go make a quick, It'll be longer than I like it to be, but presentation.
I like it to be a nice,
We,
in-depth financial presentation anytime you can.
we appreciate your willingness to dive in.
It will be shorter than the 3-hour meeting from last night.
Thank you.
So for those that don't know, the 5-year forecast is required twice a year in November and in May. So the May forecast is just like an update. And then it's required to include the general fund, any special cost centers associated with the general fund. Fund 016 is for emergency levies, but it's actually going away because they, a while ago, had to go to the general fund, but never got rid of 016. But that's going away July 1st. And then any debt service activity that would otherwise have gone to the general fund. And for the purposes of this, this is a long-range planning tool, which we talked about, and that's what we did with the capital plan. It was a long-range planning tool. And it also allows us to certify contracts that are per Ohio Revised Code 5705.1412, which is a 412 certificate. So if you don't have funds in that year, you cannot certify. So if we had, for example, a negative cash balance in year 3, and we negotiated with the teachers union or a union, we could not certify that contract because we don't have the money to pay for that contract. And then this is to also a method that the Auditor of State uses to identify schools that may be in fiscal emergency or need additional supports in terms of not having enough money. A 5-year forecast, before we get to the numbers, a 5-year forecast is just like a snapshot of where we think we are right now, based, for the future. So it's probably already changed. It'll definitely change after July 1st when we know what the state budget looks like. But I just wanted to preface that by saying, this is what we think we know right now. But this is subject to change. You'll see another one in November. And this is viewed more as a management tool, so we could, model our staffing levels or different contracts and see how, insurance increases, how that will impact our forecast, or, hiring more staff, or taking on our own career tech programming, how some of these things might impact the district's finances. And the forecast will only show you the numbers, so I highly encourage anyone to dig deep into the notes and the assumptions, because that'll kind of show you the methodology behind the thought process on what went into those numbers. Because if not, I could have just put a bunch of numbers on a spreadsheet and no one would know. So some key line items. It's divided into 2 sections, revenues and expenditures. Sorry that I made the words very small, so you can't read them. You're gonna have to listen to what I'm saying. And the revenue is split into 2 parts, local and state. And then our expenditures are broken up into salaries, benefits, purchase services, and supplies and materials. So that's kind of how those are all divvied up. The governor's budget called for $103 million less for public schools. However, they did add in $448 more for voucher and private schools. It kind of is what it is right now. It's been going that way for a while. More concerning is there are 14 proposed laws that impact local property taxes. So not only are they changing how they're going to fund schools with state dollars, but now they're impacting how schools can fund themselves with local dollars. And then House Bill 96, which is the state budget bill, is one of the most egregious and most serious concerning, pieces of legislation for public schools. So it's everything from, this is super tiny words, eliminate the Fair School Funding Plan. So it's basically the funding plan that was built together with school districts and Representatives Cupp and Patterson. They basically put it on the shelf and said the Ohio Department of Education cannot fund schools through that mechanism. It would limit school district cash carryovers to 30% of the prior year fiscal expenditures. So Cuyahoga Heights has 97% cash carryover. They will turn off those levies and give it back to the local taxpayers. However, they are now at 30% cash carryover. They could have been deficit spending already. They will immediately be back on the ballot within a year or two because they no longer have the reserves to long-range plan and figure out how to stay off the ballot. So it's one of those property tax relief bills, but hearing testimony from senators, 77% of them don't even like this. This was a provision placed in the budget by the House, so still early. And this would also empower the County Budget Commission to suspend voter-approved levies. So another district, Mayfield, just passed the levy. They may not even be able to collect $1 off of that levy with this legislation. This is just a quick timeline, a little bit bigger words. You could see February 4th, the governor submitted his budget. Then the House passed House Bill 96. We're right in the middle between there and the Senate's budget, and from there, his conference committee. But you can see forecast filing deadline is May 31st. We're not going to know where this is all going to land prior to that. The Senate, I don't even think, is going to approve their budget until maybe early June. So with that being said, we don't really know what's going to happen. So this is why this is just the best guess right now, but there are a lot of variables in the State House. So the Senate right now is, deliberating on state foundation funding and property tax evaluations for schools. A lot of legislation, 5 bills in the Senate regarding property taxation. The state budget will not be finalized until the end of June, and our forecast needs to be filed by the end of May. So right now we're filing the forecast with our current state funding levels and property tax laws. So we're gonna have to see how that goes. Any changes which could be significant to state funding and property taxes will need to be accounted for in the November forecast when that data is available. But I'm sure we will communicate it out before then. You just won't see it in an official 5-year forecast filing until then. We talked about the 20-year capital plan. So you're seeing a transfer in fiscal 25. That was after that work session with the school board. It was to fund the board-approved plan for the next 2 to 3 years. I said 2 to 3 because some of that money might go to, say, try to reacquire our bus fleet from Peterman, because right now they're all leased. So we could use some of those funds to try to reacquire our school buses and not pay leasing charges or interest on those school buses. But at least so for the short term, we're trying to fund or make a conscious effort to fund this plan. And it was very evident during the community survey that this was a need. This plan was approved in April, so this is utilizing cash reserves to get this plan off the ground. So that's why you will see a larger transfer in fiscal 25, a one-time transfer to fund this plan. That's what that transfer is for. So you can kind of see the green line spike this year. That is because of that transfer, and that's why we're deficit spending this year. However, our cash balance does remain positive through fiscal 29. We don't start deficit spending again until around fiscal 28. This is lined up with our cash balance policy. This year, we would finish with 73 days of cash on hand. Our cash balance policy requires 90 days of cash. So that's why later on in the agenda, you will see a vote or recommendation to suspend the cash balance policy for the rest of this fiscal year, just because the rest of the years are fine, but this year to fund the capital plan, we would have to dip below the cash balance policy for 1 year. This is a makeup of our revenues. You could see heavily reliant on local tax sources, 77% versus 23% from state sources. The state sources, 15.7% from the foundation payments, which is House Bill 96, state budget. And then 7.3% is homestead rollback. That is on any levies that were originally passed prior to 2013, so 2012 and prior, have that 10 to 12.5% homestead rollback payment from the state of Ohio. This is, you could see a majority of our funding is local sources. We just reached the 20 mil floor, and we are starting to see increases now, which we had not seen before because of House Bill 920, and this did stabilize the district's finances. So what was really a turbulent time and a lot of doom and gloom, crisis, cuts, has provided that with the combination levy from a couple years ago to extend the levy cycle and renewals, has given this district a chance to long-term plan, invest in our facilities, and come up with a plan on how to properly fund this district and right-size itself through cuts and things of that nature. But however, proposed legislation can drastically change, any of this. So I keep saying that because one bill, one amendment, one anything could really change the makeup of this district. So challenges to operating revenues, unknowns regarding the state budget, public school funding. We could see our state funding declining or remaining flat for the entirety of the forecast. It's already relatively flat right now. Fair school funding plan does have us on fiscal, or have us on a guarantee, and we'll continue to see guarantees. However, guarantees are another thing that they're trying to get rid of also, so our revenues on the fair school funding plan could decrease. And right now they're being held flat because we're on the guarantee. And then our total revenue is estimated to grow by 0.6% annually over the next 5 years, which is lower than our growth of our expenses by 2.2% per year. We didn't forecast any future growth on the local tax base just because of unknowns with with the legislation. You have 14 property tax bills, something's probably going to pass. And then, pending legislation makes it difficult to know how future home valuations will impact our district's revenue, and even if we did have enrollment growth, it will not translate to added revenues while we are on a foundation guarantee.
Do you have available right there, when we're on the guarantee, what's the average amount per pupil we're getting from the state? Is it like 2,000 or 2,500 a student or something around there?
For total, foundation payment, it's about $2,200.
$2,200.
Yeah, around there.
And our average cost of educating a student, I think the last time we checked was between 12 and 13,000 or something around there.
I don't have the number offhand, but it's probably around $13,000 to $15,000 a student, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Once you factor in all the funding that we receive.
Yeah, because I think we hear a lot of numbers and then we're hearing percentages and guarantees and what does that really mean? Mm-hmm. We're talking about the state already just gives us a fraction of what it costs to educate a student. And by the way, a lot less money than you can get in a voucher from the state, because that's something around $7,000. So I just want people to know that, because I think for every school district that is different. There are other school districts where they get over $10,000 per student or whatever it is from the state, but we are just not someone who is receiving tons of state aid. And so when we're talking about changing the way to collect property taxes, that is the bulk of our revenue and is hugely impactful. Is that fair to say?
Fair to say.
Thanks.
Here's a quick makeup of our expenses. This is what we're spending. You'll see 73% is on wages and benefits. So we are a people-driven entity. It's even more so because our busing services are within purchase services. So it's more like 80% of our expenses is people. So whenever we talk about, what are we spending money on, it's people. People to clean the buildings, educate the students, support the students, drive the students to school, anything, those are people. So you'll see that is a bulk of it. Within other items within purchase services, it's, utility bills, insurance, as in property insurance, things of that nature, things that are difficult to cut because they're kind of fixed items within your budget. So there's not a lot of flexibility outside of like, you have 5% for materials, and that's, everything from curriculum to printer paper. So it's kind of makeup. So you'll see a spike, kind of like a little jump in fiscal '25. That is because the loss of ESSER funds. So those were given out during the pandemic, and we use those to offset a lot of our expenses from the general fund. So we are supplanting things to try to build up a cash reserve, being thoughtful about not adding a ton of new initiatives that would have to come back to the general fund. However, now that the money's gone, those expenses now fully shifted back to the general fund. So that's why you're seeing maybe a little quicker jump up in fiscal '25, and then it kind of levels back up. But expenses are growing every year, just like everyone else, via inflation, electric costs, insurance, everything like that. Here's another way of presenting our ending cash balance. You'll see this year is the only year below where it needs to be in the cash balance policy, and that's why I said will likely need to suspend that policy for the remainder of fiscal '25, and then we could probably revisit that after July 1st once we see kind of what the state is doing and revisit our finances and see if this is even applicable, because they might have established their own floor and their own cap. Items to consider, this new the state budget, that was House Bill 33, that's one we're on right now. We did get more money in restricted funds, but less in unrestricted funds. There is uncertainty around our levies and local funding structure. And then ESSER funds helped reduce the burden from the general fund the last 3 years. However, those funds have been moved, or expenses have been moved to the general fund. Future state funding is still uncertain, for the next 2 bienniums, which is in this forecast. Staffing levels, insurance negotiations will be the largest drivers on the expenditure side, and evaluating how to fund the capital plan after the initial transfer is exhausted will also need to be a priority for us to figure out how we're going to fully, support the capital plan in the future. That's what I got.
Do we ask questions now or later?
Should we do under discussion?
Discussion it is.
Do I hear a motion to approve 8B 5-year forecast?
Madam
make a mo-
President, I make a motion to approve 5B, 5-year forecast.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Discussion?
I think it's more of an observation. I mean, after 4 years of asking lots of questions about the 5-year forecast and understanding things in this really short snippet, there's still so much information that requires such in-depth knowledge to even understand it. Like, to simplify what you just spoke about isn't possible. Like, you simplified it to the point that you can, and it's still super complex. And I think one of the hardest things, maybe for anybody reaching out to any of our members of legislature, is they may not be able to speak to certain things because it's really hard to understand what they're talking about. And at the end of the day, we're constrained by the laws that they pass. And I think a lot of people ask us, be more transparent, be better at communicating it. We can only be as transparent and communicative as the law is simplistic. And the more complex it is, the harder it is to ever get a message out. So thank you for trying these last few years, even with this presentation, to distill it down. I think it really is up to us as taxpayers and as members of our community to ask you questions, which you're always available for, and also to ask of the legislature, can you simplify the approach that you're taking to fund the thing that I care about? And I think that's maybe where more conversation can occur. And through this, I think one of the biggest things people should walk away from looking at is that decisions are being made for us to plan and asking us to plan, and then the carpet's being pulled out from underneath us after we do what they asked us to do. And you can't keep changing the rules to the game and expect it to be fair. So thank you for putting that out there, and I hope that our community listens and asks questions.
Agree. I think we've come a long way in this short time on the board on, having all of these things. You could say it's transparent to just have the 5-year forecast here and people can figure it out if they will. But I think this was your idea, Mr. Chiarinello, to do this in this way and, really explain it in a narrative that makes sense with everything else that's on the agenda, all of the work sessions we've done, like tie it all together. Just, it's so different than when I first got on the board, and I appreciate your hard work because I know it was a lot of extra work for you to do it this way because you understand it like it looks in the spreadsheet, right? So for you to take the time to explain it to the rest of us who don't understand it as well, I appreciate.
I appreciate that you saying that because it's true. Us newer people that didn't get to experience another school board, you have something, you have something to compare with. So it's kind of, you're probably wowed a little bit more than, but
Yeah.
thanks so much. I appreciate you doing that.
And I think too, it's an ongoing thing. The more feedback we get from our community members and, this is confusing, well, what does this mean? What does this mean? Then we build on it from there, but you've done an amazing job. I really appreciate, and I'm not a numbers person, but you're doing a great job, so I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chiarinello, can you please call the roll?
Ms. Bear?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Verdi?
Yes.
Ms. Schatzman?
Yes.
Ms. Menzer?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Well, I appreciate that, thank you. 8C, amended appropriations for fiscal '25. This is to adjust the appropriations to the 5-year forecast and also monthly financials. 8D, this is the transfer funds for the capital plan. This is what we were talking about, that large one-time transfer to fund that capital plan and get it off the ground. 8E, athletic trainer agreement. This is a renewal with the university hospitals for our athletic trainer services. We were paying $17,000 per year. It is now $0. So we're getting those trainer services for free. In partnership with that agreement, this is a sponsorship agreement. We'll get a whole 1 penny for their signage, but they're giving us athletic trainers, so I think it's a pretty fair exchange. Transfer of funds to the South High School store. This is that annual debt payment we talked about for the embroidery machine, moving it from South High School store's one account to their debt account. And then the reason you've all been waiting for, we have the library levy resolution on the agenda. This is a renewal levy, and we have Vicki Simmons and Eric Linderman here from the library to answer any questions you guys might have.
So I specifically asked if you guys could come today and just reiterate what you would tell any voter, right? So what we would be approving tonight is your ability to put the levy on the ballot. Obviously, we're not making a final decision. It's, the community who would make it. But if you can just kind of go up there and explain what it is and what it's for to all of our taxpayers out there, we just felt like you deserved the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, well, I'm Eric Linderman. I'm director of the Willoughby East Lake Public Library here with Vicki Simmons. And first, let me extend thanks to the school board as well as Dr. Ward and Mr. Chiarinello. Thanks for having me tonight. Yeah, we have at our April meeting on April 21st, or the general board meeting, approved put this on the ballot in November. It's a $2 million renewal levy. It was originally passed in 2018, and it's just a renewal levy, no new millage. Constitutes about 42% of our general fund, in addition to another $1 million levy, and funds we get from the state public library fund. It's a section of the general revenue fund of the state of Ohio. Just wanted to give a quick overview of how we're concentrating our resources and funding right now. Increasingly, it's about programming. We build great collections, but we're focused very much on programming for all ages, and our flagship program really being services to children's literacy services. To give you a couple of numbers here. 2024, our children's program attendance was 18,478 system-wide. That was an increase of 31% over the prior year. So we're really focused on that. Summer reading program, it's a big part of what we do, promoting literacy, maintaining literacy skills between the school years. We do a lot of work in that, up 31%, 2,256 participants in our summer reading program. Teen program attendance, 2,968, that's up 67%. We've hired some new some young adult staff who are really focused on, we've got a maker space, we're really dedicated to getting teenagers' attentions and getting their, really focusing in on their interests and getting them engaged. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I don't particularly have questions per se because I frequent the libraries often. I just have to praise the libraries because my students, I have 3 children, are not voracious readers, nor do they like crave books. But every time we go to the library, I ask them to engage with the librarians, and they drop what they're doing, stand up, walk around with them, show them sections, find them things, find out what their interest is. Specifically the teen section at Willowick Library, my daughter just happened to be there with me. The librarian came over and she goes, "You look like a teenager." And then my daughter's like, she's like, "You're definitely a teenager." And engaged her in the teenager summer reading program, which kept her reading, which I don't think maybe would not have happened without that engagement. So the libraries are a critical part to my family's success. My students enjoy the library. I personally love each location and feel that your services are really important to sustaining our community in a variety of ways. So thank you.
Well, great. Yeah, the teen services at Willowick, I'm glad you mentioned that. We just hired recently Heather Shadles, our new teen services specialist there. She used to be the education coordinator for Lincoln Electric. She really, and that was part of our goal here, was to get more of a bridge between, our library, the kids coming into the library and some of the trade school interests. More and more kids are going into that, and we want to provide some assistance with that.
Yeah, I just want to comment on the uptick with the percentage.
Huge, yeah.
I mean, that is impressive.
Yeah, it's, we still, we have strong collections. Overall, our collections went, circulation, we talk about circulation of books. It's really e-media, electronic books and print media. And that went up 3% over the prior year, which was pretty good considering, a lot of certain sections of our collection, as we understand, are dropping. People aren't checking out music CDs anymore. They're just not doing it. And we've got several sections of our collection that are just like that. Print books kind of remains flat. Our digital content, though, is going way up. But really, as I always tell our librarians, our future's in programming. And so we're really focusing our resources on, getting kids in the libraries for the story times, summer reading program. That's really where we're focused. All right. Anything else?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Do I hear a motion to approve 8H library levy resolution?
Madam President, I make a motion to approve 8H.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion? Mr. Charnello?
Ms. Bear?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Verdi?
Yes.
Ms. Stratzman?
Yes.
Ms. Menser?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
8I, purchase orders. We have 2 amendments for purchase orders that exceeded their invoice. One is for the Compass Group, which is our Chartwell's, our management company for food service, and the other is for Enbridge Gas Ohio. This is our gas utility company. So as we get towards the end of the school year, we should have probably caught it a little sooner, closed that purchase order and started a new one. Instead, we just didn't. So there was.
Is this out of line though with what we expected to pay Compass Group, for instance? though?
This is only like a maybe a quarterly purchase order or something. So this isn't, we don't do the purchase orders for the entire year. It's usually on a quarterly basis. It was probably, there was some money left on the purchase order instead of like thinking to close it and open a new one. We just left it open. Then the invoice came in and it was significantly higher, so it required the amendment. But no, I mean, yeah, we pay them a fee on the student meal count, and that depends on like meals served and stuff like that.
Thanks.
We had a whole work session about Chartwells and the food service program, so you guys could probably educate me on Chartwells.
I remember that fondly.
8J, we have 2 budget amendments, both are for scholarship accounts. And then 8K for your review are 22 different gifts and donations. So thank you to all of those generous donors.
I just want to speak really quickly to some of them that are on here. I think there's partnerships occurring in the district which helps source some of these and to create opportunities to ensure that organizations in our community had an opportunity to know that a need existed. So I think not only do we have generous community members, but we also have a lot of work occurring in the district to bring these donations in. So thank you to everybody who did that.
Thank you. Dr. Ward?
First and foremost, thank you for the kind words and your trust and faith in me and my leadership. It's never easy to sit and hear anything positive because my preference is to just put my head down and get back to work. And so we will do that tomorrow. I also want to take this opportunity and just let the community know how grateful I am to serve our community as superintendent. And please know it's the professional honor of my life to serve our children here in Willoughby Lake Schools. Now let's talk about art. The Art Splash was in this building most recently. If you had a chance to attend, it was absolutely fantastic. If you walk around the building, you'll see some of our student artwork on every floor. What's most notable about this particular showcase was that we had elementary art from buildings that historically haven't had art finally represented on our walls. And so, again, our commitment to ensuring all students have access to art education begins to take root. So my thanks to the art department and everyone who came out to help make sure that event went off without a hitch. Scholarship night was last week. We had a chance to hand out a lot of money and scholarships to our amazing senior class. It was an hour and 45 minutes or so of just award after award after award. Wonderfully attended, wonderful event, a great night to showcase our future graduates who will be wrapping it up in the next 2 weeks, believe it or not. Tomorrow night we have our top 10 evening. We're going to celebrate the best of the best from North and South. If you recall, historically we would do that at the May board meeting. You'll see their names listed tonight. What we found was that we wanted to make sure we created the space and time to honor these students appropriately. And so we're going to spend tomorrow night, they've each nominated teachers that have impacted them, and those teachers will be attending our ceremony. We'll have the students come up, and then they will speak about the students that, or the teachers that impacted them during their time in Willoughby Lake Schools, as a way to honor both the teachers who have impacted our top scholars, as well as honor the students who are well deserving of this particular accolade and honor. And again, the last week in May, Tuesday and Thursday of that week, will be our commencement downtown, where we'll bring to conclusion formally the educational journey for our seniors. Along those lines, last Friday we hosted an impact conversation event. Students and teachers having candid conversations about their education, completely student-run. It was one of the most remarkable things I witnessed in a while. Teachers were a little nervous when they came in, students were a little nervous, but by one rotation of the conversation, it was a really engaging conversation. And some of my student advisory kids said, hey, like, I think those teachers really were listening to what we need. And the teachers were equally impressed by our student voice. So it was a wonderful event that we hope will continue to grow. And then this next award is kind of weird because typically the person who makes the certificates is the person we're honoring tonight. And so I had to secretly make a certificate on in a different place in the building so that we can formally recognize Ms. Kevern, who is going to receive the Ohio School Public Relations Association Award. We're thrilled to share that our Community Update publication has been recognized with the top honor of the best by the Ohio School Public Relations Associations. So congratulations to Ms. Gina Kevern, our Director of Communications, for that outstanding work. Come on up.
Come on, Gina. We need someone to take your picture.
Brian, let's go.
Who has a camera?
Brian's on it.
Oh,
Brian's
Brian.
on it. Come on, Brian. He was in stealth mode. Wait, do you want your sunglasses on or off? Okay, ma'am, I'm here for you. You should look good in the picture.
Gina. Yeah?
I can see Pat like, is this color printing? Is this black and white? Help.
How do you do a certificate?
Portrait. Gina, thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you.
You're a rock star.
Lastly, last week, we had our shareholder meeting at Willoughby Middle School. It was a pretty packed event, an opportunity to share and showcase a couple key themes. One, we reviewed the shared vision and our intentional commitment to both academics and our facilities. We spoke about our core investments that we've been making through the shared vision strategic plan. We outlined for the community our steering committee structure and framework continues to be the vehicle by which we're going to continue to get information on how we continuously improve, and that the steps we've taken over the last 2 years have been thoughtful, intentional, and with purpose, all with student learning and being a premier educational institution in mind. And so we also wanted to recap school finance. It's one of the most difficult conversations, as you just heard by an expert, to have to continually explain to the community. Generally, how are schools financed? And so we had a chance to kind of break that down. And then we had a chance to talk about Willoughby Eastlake. And Willoughby Eastlake is unique. If you look at 609 school systems across the state of Ohio that are public schools, our profile for how we are financed is, consequently, dependent on emergency levies. And you'll often hear people say, what's the emergency? And so we had a chance Friday when we met with the good senator to talk about the emergency is that these are fixed sums of money that when they disappear, create an emergency. And so we constantly have to go back and ask the taxpayers to renew these emergency levies. And again, we used to have 6. In May of '23, we were able to collapse that to 5. And then we have 1 continuing levy on the books from 1976. And so we had a chance to explain the difference between a continuing levy that goes way, way, way back in time, that doesn't, increase with inflation or as costs go up. It's the same amount that was originally voted on, right? And so we were able to contrast emergency levies with continuing operating levies, the difference. And again, so the two are very different. The mechanisms are different. The vehicle by which the dollars are collected is different. And so you can't treat them the same. And our concern was we wanted to explain to the people that showed up, that if you do treat them the same, that there might be consequences for Willoughby Eastlake's finances. And so, when you look at us from 1987 to the present, we've been working through an emergency levy cycle. Finally, after 48 years of a continuing levy, right, clawing its way through 4 decades, the district hit the 20 mil floor. So we would not even know what the 20 mil floor was prior to this most recent reappraisal, because it's been around for 40 plus years, 48 to be exact. And so we got to talk about those glamorous topics. And then the second half of the meeting was, if I didn't make sense or anything I said was confusing, go speak to this good treasurer here, he'll explain it, or speak to Katie and Vicki about the academics and some of the work we're doing, or spend time writing your senator. And people hung around. We had a chance as a community to kind of engage in good conversation fellowship. And it had a very positive vibe for what could be a very unpleasant conversation at times. So it was a good night. Thank the community for showing up and for their continued support.
Keep going.
Yes, I gotta find out where I am. I lost my place through all this mumbo jumbo here. All right. 10A is our membership in the Ohio High School Athletic Association. This is a yearly membership renewal. Please recall that our steering committee priority 2, the We Experience, places value on the athletic experiences we provide our students in Willoughby Eastlake schools. This membership reaffirms that commitment and our ongoing commitment to ensuring that we continue to provide the best opportunities for our students. The WRC is our current, league. We are leaving the WRC because it will be no more, and we'll begin the CVC league beginning in 26-27.
Do I hear a motion to approve 10A, 2025-2026 membership in OHSAA?
Madam President, I make a motion to approve item 10A.
Do I hear a second?
Madam President, I second 10A.
Discussion?
I think I just want to point out, we did a lot of research into OHSAA in the prior year, and we saw the benefits not only through being a member of the association, but also through the promise to provide financial support to a variety of things. We've seen those come through throughout the years. So OHSAA continues to help us improve upon our programs and support the things that we want to accomplish in our athletics. So,
Mr. Charnello?
Ms. Bear?
yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Verdi?
Yes.
Ms. Schratzman?
Yes.
Ms. Menzer?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Item 10B is our Amplify quote. This would be for expanding the CKLA curriculum into the 6th grade. We know that a guaranteed and viable curriculum that's well-aligned, well-supported with PD to support teacher implementation tends to show student achievement and growth increase, which we're seeing right now, K-5. This process begins the expansion into the middle level so that over the next several years, we can say that K-8 literacy is indeed aligned and locked in place.
Do I hear a motion to approve 10B Amplify quote?
Madam President, I make a motion to approve 10B Amplify quote.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion?
I just wanted to say, I went to a literacy task force meeting because I had asked Katie a bunch of questions about what we were doing and how teachers and staff felt about our implementation of CKLA. And I was blown away by authentic teacher reactions to saying, I've been in this district for a very long time, and this is the most supported I feel in adopting a curriculum, and I'm excited to come in and do it. And, you know, even though there's oftentimes a lot of resistance to change, everyone who was in that room said, I have found it easy to adopt this. I can see how it makes teaching easier for me and is getting better results with students. And it was just really refreshing to hear because as a board member, you're always hearing from administration, right? And then a lot of times you think, well, like, do the teachers actually like this? And it was just really nice to feel like the adoption and the way we're rolling this out in the organization is so well received. And that makes sense with the results that we're getting. So I just wanted to thank Katie for her work. And I know she always says it's everyone doing it, but it was very clear in that meeting how hard she works.
I wanted to say as a board member also, the presentation given with the measurement results in the short period of time in which we've done it really helps to make decisions to support expanding upon that curriculum approach. So when things like this come forward, the proactive nature of saying, this is what we're doing, this is the impact that it's made, I need to move forward, we can be reactive in a really timely manner to support those needs because of the proactive reporting that occurred earlier in the year. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Charnello?
Ms. Bear?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Verdi?
Yes.
Ms. Schratzman?
Yes.
Ms. Menzer?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Item 10C is our school-age childcare contract with Lake County YMCA. This is a long-standing partnership we've had with our before and after-school care. If you recall, last year, we did a one-year contract, so we had time and space to continue to work with the YMCA to ensure we had time to update a contract that had not been updated in some time. And so kudos to Ms. Dodd, who I know worked really hard with the YMCA to get this contract revised after a decade. And we feel like this is a good continued relationship for the district and our families.
Do I hear a motion to approve 10C school-age childcare contract with the Lake County YMCA?
Madam President, I motion to approve item 10C.
Do I hear a second?
Madam President, I'll second.
Discussion? Mr. Charnello?
Ms. Bear?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Verdi?
Yes.
Ms. Schratzman?
Yes.
Ms. Menzer?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Item 10D is a settlement agreement for a Tier 3 programming that's not offered in the district for the CARES program.
Do I hear a motion to approve 10E, administrative and exempt employee?
Oh,
Sorry,
D.
skipped one, D. Do I hear a motion to approve 10D, settlement agreement CARES 2024-2025 agreement for admission/tuition?
Madam President, I motion to approve item 10D.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion? Mr. Charnello?
Ms. Bear?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Verdi?
Yes.
Ms. Schratzman?
Yes.
Ms. Menzer?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
10E is Administrative and Exempt Employee Compensation Plan Schedule of Benefits. In this particular version, because we've done several months now, you will see the vacation carryover is now consistent across all classifications. That is 10E.
Do I hear a motion to approve 10E, Administrative and Exempt Employee Compensation Plan and Schedule of Benefits?
Madam President, I motion to approve 10E.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? Mr. Tornello?
Ms. Bear?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Verdi?
Yes.
Ms. Schätzman?
Yes.
Ms. Menzer?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, 9F is our yearly update to the administrative salary schedules. For all of them, you'll see listed here under 10F.
Do I hear a motion to approve 10F?
Madam President, I make a motion to approve 10F.
Do I hear a second?
Madam President, I second.
Discussion? Mr. Tornello?
Ms. Bear?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Verdi?
Yes.
Ms. Schätzman?
Yes.
Ms. Menzer?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Right, 10G is our certified substitute pay scale. Of note, we did add a line for retired certified teachers that want to come back after they retire. And there's a slight incentive to do that, because we think once you have a relationship with the district, it's always good to see some of those smiling faces back.
Do I hear a motion to approve 10G?
I motion to approve 10G.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion? Mr. Tornello?
Ms. Bear?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Verdi?
Yes.
Ms. Schätzman?
Yes.
Ms. Menzer?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, item 10H is a special service agreement with Crossroads Partnership. And so I'm just going to give you some stats so you have some history on the journey we've had with this particular organization. This partnership between Willoughby East Lake Schools and Crossroads Health has made significant strides over the past year, expanding student support services while simultaneously reducing the cost to the district. Crossroads Health has increased its presence in our schools with the number of buildings served rising from 7 in previous years to 11 buildings in 24-25 school year. As a result, every student in the district now has access to Crossroads counselors, an achievement we are proud to offer our students and families that choose to access this particular Tier 3 intervention. This expansion has led to a notable increase in the number of students served, growing from 363 in 2022 to 490 in 24-25. Importantly, this growth in services has been achieved alongside a significant reduction in district spending. Payments to Crossroads Health have decreased from $274,000 in 22-23 to $179,418 in 24-25. The cost reduction is a result of a collaborative effort between Pupil Services and Crossroads Health to implement a more financially sustainable model for our families and students that choose. A key component of this shift has been increasing Medicaid billing for eligible students. I will tell you, I do not have my glasses, as you can see tonight. That was incredibly difficult to read that teeny print and to see your teeny print earlier. But that's just some background on Crossroads. I know each year we've talked about this particular, again, Tier 3 option for families that choose to access it. So
what I heard you say is we increase services and reduce costs.
we did. For item 10I would be our overnight field trip request for students at North High School in both the French and Spanish program. In item 10I would be the suspension of the policy 6218, which is the cash balance policy referenced earlier during the 5-year forecast. And then 10K would be the approval of the following policies as listed there. I feel like I missed one. Nope. All right.
You just said like I twice instead of IJ.
Okay, so that CKLA is going to be really important for me too, apparently, so.
Or your glasses.
Or your glasses, yeah.
Equally important, so they're at home.
You can keep going.
All right, so for item 10A, you'll see the 11A. Yeah, noted. Get your glasses next
Slow
month.
down, take a
For
sip.
11A, you'll see the administrative personnels. For this particular month, you'll see noted there are building principals that were up for renewal, as well as our directors and several of our special education supervisors. 11B is our certified personnel. It's worth noting this hiring season has been a ferociously competitive season. We've got a lot of good candidates that we've been able to interview here in Willoughby East Lake, given the number of vacancies we've had and the number of retirements. And I have to, commend our HR department for moving up some of the district of, procedures to March, opened up the entire month of April for us to go after the best candidates for Willoughby Eastlake. These candidates had choices between other districts during this process, and they chose Willoughby Eastlake. And that's a remarkable testimony to this Willoughby Eastlake family. 11C, I believe, is the classified personnel. Similarly, again, an aggressive season of hiring for those important roles such as feeding and supporting education and keeping our facilities clean. And 11D is our supplemental contracts for those services above and beyond what the contract offers. And then 12A would be based on the feedback of last month, some of the things we heard during public comment. I know there were conversations about updating policy 5223, and so the first read of that policy is noted here.
Thank you. 13A, our next regular Board of Education meeting is scheduled for Monday, June 9th, 2025, 6 PM here at the Administration Building, 35353 Curtis Boulevard in Eastlake. 14A, do I hear a motion to adopt the consent calendar?
Madam President, I motion to approve 14A.
Do I hear a second?
Madam President, I second.
Discussion? Mr. Charnello?
Ms. Bear?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Verdi?
Yes.
Ms. Schätzman?
Yes.
Ms. Menzer?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
15A, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Madam President, I motion to adjourn. Just round it out.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion? Mr. Charnello?
Ms. Bear?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Verdi?
Yes.
Ms. Schätzman?
Yes.
Ms. Menzer?
Yes.
We are adjourned at 7:36 PM.